Hey everyone, it's Instructor Jay. Let me wait for everybody to kind of get on here. Hey everyone, it's Instructor Jay, Guardian Training Consulting, and we just wanted to take this opportunity. We talk about Fireside chats, and a lot of questions I get is, how do I start a fire? I was just up north with Instructor Karen, and we were out with some friends, and there was this question of, hey, how do you start a fire? Like, what's your sauce, your secret sauce when you start a fire, and how do you successfully get that fire going and everything like that? So wait for a couple more people. All right, so we're going to talk about fire starting today, and I'm Instructor Jay with Guardian Training Consulting, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the successful parts of a fire that I kind of do, I start with good quality products. So my camp knife is a Ravencrest Tactical, their cleaver. What I really like about this knife here is, of course, it's like a competition style chopper, which I really like. It's good for chopping, and then also it has a very thick blade profile for chopping, but then also it has a very fine edge for like slicing, stuff like that. The other cool thing about this is a lot of people think this is a finger groove. It's actually not a finger groove. What it's actually can be used for is, if you have a ferro rod, is you can actually index that on the ferro rod, and you can actually do the striking instead of using the back of your knife, or worst case, the front of your knife. So I really like this. Again, Ravencrest Tactical. They're local to Mesa, and it's a 440C steel blade, and then just a standard ferro rod. And what I do with my ferro rod is I actually add a orange 550 cord or parachute cord. So the way I do this is, the way I set up my knife is I have it in my sheath, my leather sheath, that what it comes with the leather sheath that I can put my knife in. And then I have, paracord attached to my knife as well. So then what I do is, because you have the holes in them, I actually push the paracord for the ferro rod through the hole in the knife handle and actually put it just like that. So the reason I do that is they're all one system, and then when I put the knife on, I take the ferro rod out of the handle, and then I attach this ferro rod to my belt loop on my pants, and now I've got this, have the ability to be in my pocket, and then I won't lose it in my pocket or out of my pocket, which is good. And it's all brightly colored, so if it falls on the ground, I'm able to find it. And then I attach my knife to my belt loop, my belt, and I have my knife and my ferro rod. So, all right, so now, without further ado, so how I set myself up, I'm gonna move this down a little bit so you can see the fire. So how I set myself up with, I'm using all natural materials with the exception of, I actually pack in my survival pack that you saw yesterday, that 2 days ago that I went through, my survival pack that has kind of everything in it, has bleeding control kit, has water container, all that. Well, within here, on the one side, I have a Ziploc bag full of dryer lint. So don't throw away your dryer lint. Keep it, put it in a Ziploc bag, and this is great tinder. So a couple things when we talk about fire making, there's tinder. So there's the actual ignition source, tinder, and then your tinder lights the kindling, and the kindling lights the fuel wood. So we're gonna start with tinder. And I always have this in my pack, a good ball of dryer lint. So nothing special, just dryer lint. Great stuff. So your ferro rod is a synthetic, the best way to explain it is like a synthetic magnesium. So what you can do is, how I set myself up, I use paper in this regard, like a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. How I set myself up, you can see here a fine line of, it's hard to see it, of dust. And what I actually did was I actually just took my ferro rod and my knife, and I used the back of my knife, and I just scraped it very lightly onto the paper. Now the paper is not going to be used for the lighting aspect. all it is just to capture that the ferro dust. And again, it's just a synthetic magnesium. And when I spark it, you'll see it burns over 5,000 degrees. It's a white hot striker. So what I like to do is I like to take my dust, my fine dust, and actually pour it into my lint. And what you'll see is it go, spark up, and it'll light that lint very, very well. My dog's checking it out. So yeah, I have my lint here, and then the great thing about in Arizona, we have a tree called it's called the shaggy juniper. The shaggy juniper is a great resource. It's a great tree to have because you can use every part of the tree for your fire starting. So what I use, again, I have my lint right here, and then I take the bark, I pull the bark off, and I pull the bark off in nice little strands. And then as I keep pulling and pulling and pulling, so the outer strands are very, very fibrous. And then as you get towards the inner part of the log, it actually goes into that Cambrian layer, and that Cambrian layer is full of resin, and that resin just lights like crazy. It's like gasoline. Thanks for joining me from Montana on Instagram. So you have the fibrous material which lights like paper or like hemp rope, and then it goes to your resinous area, your resinous like little tiny stalks, all the way up to like the larger parts of the bark. Now, what you're seeing is two fuel logs over here, and I'm in my fireplace, obviously. So the two fuel logs act as a bridge, like the parts of a bridge. Now, there's many ways to make a fire. You can do like the teepee method. You can do the log cabin method. There's so many different methods. Lean-to method. Really, it's just whatever works with your environment. Honestly, they always say the perfect survival shelters and the perfect campfires are really just in survival books. But this is kind of how I set it up. Again, I have two fuel logs, and then the bridge of really fibrous, large parts of the alligator juniper, and then within there, the really small parts that actually have a boatload of resin in them. They're really sticky like the pine tar. And then a little more fibrous, and then I have my lint. So I start very fibrous, very small, and then get to larger. You're not going to be lighting a whole fuel wood. And then you're going to see here, I have a box. So what I did was, so after I peeled off the bark of the shaggy juniper, I actually sliced it up with my camp axe and made tiny slivers. And so this is my kindling. So everybody wants to put that fuel log, the large log on the fire, and the problem is that you don't have any abrasive embers to get it. So what you can do is you create this, and this thing will go up like gasoline, and it'll be a large raging inferno. The thing with that is it's great, and then it'll die down, and then once you have that bed of embers, then you can throw your fuel wood on. And of course, getting seasoned firewood is always a good thing. And you would typically want to season your firewood at a minimum for most of our woods out in Arizona for like 6 months. If you're living in an area that's a little wetter, that's when you need to take a little bit longer. Obviously, drying it out is the best way in seasoning it. Or reaching 20%, a little under 20% of moisture content. So we're actually going to light this. So you're going to watch me light it. So again, I'm going to light the lint, and then it's going to go up from there. I might have to take a couple strikes, but all I'm trying to do is I'm putting pressure on my ferro rod, and then I'm creating sparks off of my ferro rod. Okay, so I'm going to lay down my ferro rod. You can see it. Okay, now let me move this one down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to lay down my ferro rod on my lint, and then I'm going to just strike it as best as I possibly can. And my angle really stinks because of where I'm kind of positioning my body. So I may have to use different parts of the knife. Try here. Move this over a little bit. So once I get a spark, then you can see it kind of come up. And what I'll take is a stick. I'll just kind of move what I need. Again, this stuff's going to go up really, really fast. Kind of like gasoline. Okay. So now you got a good amount. Now what we're going to do is, now I'm going to take, and it smells great because it's just all juniper. So I'm going to take my kindling and put this on top. Space it out. Don't throw it on like on top of each other. And it's going to be popping. So now we're pretty good. And I'm hot as heck right now. This fire's hot. So I have my fuel wood right here. I can put on top. We're just gonna let it burn down for a bit, for a minute. So it's starting to burn down a little bit than what it was before. Pretty good. So the goal after this is to put my fuel log on top, and what I'm going to do is put my fuel log right across this fire, and it'll light the fuel wood. It'll light that fuel wood, and what we'll do is you can see the side here, right here, it's actually burning my fuel wood here, and it's burning my fuel wood right there. So then I'll put a piece of fuel wood over the top, and then it'll keep burning from there. It's pretty good. Okay, so now you're just gonna take your fuel wood and put it right over the top. And that's how you keep a good fire going. So it's nothing crazy. Again, it's all natural, not using any kind of oil or fuel or lighter fluid. It's all natural materials, and then my igniter is just a standard ferro rod. Again, this is stuff that you should always have with you in your car. Just a good trusty knife, and again, this is a Raven Crest knife. Good trusty knife, and it's not terribly expensive, and then a good ferro rod for striking. And then you can always find good stuff to light. So that's kind of fire starting, and then building it from there, and then you can enjoy the fire and then have some more from there. And then you guys, if you have any questions, just contact us. We have a little call to action. We have a Arizona concealed carry class that's distance. So you take an online portion, and then you do a Zoom video conferencing with either me or instructor Karen, and we actually do a virtual classroom with you and discuss all of the laws of state of Arizona, all virtual. What we're kind of doing right now, talking about the laws of Arizona. You can get your concealed carry permit and go from there. And then we also do a stop the bleed. Well, it's not a stop the bleed. It's a bleeding control class, completely online bleeding control class. So tourniquets, all of that, completely online. Contact us or go to our website, see that class. For my Facebook people, it's on the bottom part of the links. Register right now, and it's completely self-paced. So just check our classes out. Click below. If you need a medical kit, click below as well for my Facebook folks. The links are below for the medical kit that we are distributors for TacMed Solutions. I'm getting really hot right now. This fire is ridiculously hot. So click below for all the classes, and please register below. You guys have a safe day. See you tomorrow. We're going to talk about something different, and we'll find out what it is tomorrow. And thank you for joining my Fireside Chat. Have an awesome one.